when we get back in, I'll have to make a motion to bring us back into session, and I'll just take a general vote. I won't do individual.
So I want to make sure the court reporter's with us. You ready? Okay. Okay, we're good on my end.
Okay. May I have a motion to bring us back into session?
So moved.
I second. Everybody in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
We're back in session. All right. I will entertain a motion on 24 West McMicken Avenue.
Mr. Chairman, I'd like to make a motion to deny the certificate of appropriateness in its entirety.
Second.
I have a motion and a second. Mr. Zelasco,
Aye.
Mr. Weiss,
Aye.
Ms. Smith Dobbins,
Yes.
Ms. McKenzie,
Aye.
Mr. Young,
Aye.
Mr. Sunderman.
Aye.
The chair votes aye. Item number 5, the certificate of appropriateness is denied. All right, that brings us to item number 6, 1526 Elm Street. Mr. Owen.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. This is an application for a certificate of appropriateness and zoning relief for 1526 Elm Street, also known as 1527 to 1531 Pleasant Street. This property is currently part of the same parcel as 1526 Elm Street. It is a through lot that goes between Elm and Pleasant, and the applicant is proposing to split the lot at the middle to create a new developable site along the present Pleasant Street frontage. The entirety of that portion of the lot is currently vacant. So the applicant is planning a new infill development on that Pleasant Street portion of the site. There is zoning relief involved with the application. The applicant is proposing a density of 5 units. Currently, the lot supports a total density of 4 units at 1 unit per 1,200 square feet of lot area. The applicant's also proposing a dimensional variance of 11.8 feet for a proposed front yard setback of 0.2 feet, short of the required 12 feet. And a dimensional variance of 10.6 feet for the minimum side yard setback and 10.6 feet for the total side yard setbacks are also proposed. And then finally, a dimensional variance of 31.1 feet is required for the proposed rear yard setback of 0.9 feet, short of the 32 feet required. So you can see on the screen the configuration of the newly proposed lot. This will be required to go to the planning department to get approval for the lot split. But the applicant is proposing to build the new building within this new portion of the lot. The building would have an open space on the ground floor area below or behind the main block of the building that would allow for parking underneath the second floor of the building, as well as some parking spaces at the rear of the lot. And here you can see the elevation drawings. So staff feels that the zoning relief that's requested is appropriate for the district. The primary zoning relief that's required is based on the setbacks of the property, which is needed in order to build closer to the lot lines than what the zoning code requires. So the front yard is, or the setbacks are on this building are based on the total height of the building, which increases the setback area for every interval above 35 feet. So because the building is taller, the setbacks increase. So while that is a typical zoning code requirement, it is not necessarily appropriate in this circumstance because of the surrounding development and Over the Rhine, which is primarily built at or close to the lot lines. So staff feels that the setback variances are appropriate. And we also feel that the density variance is appropriate as well, as this is a fairly low density district at a 1 to 1,200 square foot requirement. So adding the 5th unit is not expected to be adverse to the surrounding area. The CCP district across the street would allow 1 unit for every 700 square feet for new construction, which the proposed density here would fit well within that requirement. So staff feels that the zoning relief is appropriate. Regarding the certificate of appropriateness, generally staff feels that the project does meet the conservation guidelines, especially in its rhythm, its materials, its vertical emphasis, and its siting. Staff does have two concerns with the design of the building, which are based on the composition requirements as well as the window opening requirements. So the applicant has decided to put forward a design that is modern in style and relatively minimalist with little adornments or other ornamentation on the building. So they do want to proceed with the top composition of the building being subtly defined. And that mainly includes having slightly smaller window openings on the 4th floor that would mimic the placement of frieze windows that are typically found on historic buildings, and also the brick between the upper floor windows and the coping along the parapet roof is slightly larger than the brick in between the base and the middle levels. So it's a very subtle treatment for the top composition, but considering the minimalist design of the building, staff does not feel that it is wholly inappropriate. The other concern on the building is just the amount of single pane windows that are proposed on the building, whereas most new construction over the Rhine, as well as obviously historic buildings, have multi-light windows, whether it's just a 1/1 or more than that. But the applicant has proposed single light windows in all of the window openings. However, they do have the actual pane of the window is offset within the opening with a fiber cement material on the top and the side to provide some definition to that window, rather than having the typical sills and lintels or hoods that are commonly found in the district. So regardless, even with the offset portion of the window, staff would feel more comfortable if there was some division in this window, so that all the front facade windows aren't a single solid pane. So staff does recommend that a simulated division be put within the window, offset, so that it's not directly in the center, because it's not something that I would intend to have a simulated double hung or anything like that. It's just a simulated division in the window, and some portion of that to read as a multi-light window. Okay, so I should mention also that the applicant does intend to place a 6-foot screen fence along the open portion on that west side of the building to screen that parking lot from view. And there will also be landscape plantings at least 4 feet in height along the parking to the rear of the building that will screen those spaces. The applicant is proposing on the right side of the building, it is a larger setback than might often be found in the district, but the reasoning for that is to allow for the access drive to get to the rear parking spaces, as well as providing a pedestrian discharge, which is required for the building code, so that pedestrians can exit from the rear staircase across the lot and out to the front, while maintaining adequate separation from the other exit discharge on the west side of the building. So with that being said, staff recommends approval of the numerical variance of 1 for a proposed density of 5 units, with the following condition: that a subdivision application must be approved by the Department of City Planning prior to permitting. Recommend approval of the dimensional variance of 11.8 feet for the proposed front yard setback of 0.2 feet. Recommend approval of the dimensional variances of 10.6 feet minimum and 10.6 feet total for the proposed side yard setbacks of 0.9 feet minimum and 12.9 feet total. And approve the dimensional variance of 31.1 feet for the proposed rear yard setback of 0.9 feet, short of the 32-foot requirement. As far as the certificate of appropriateness, staff recommends approval of the certificate of appropriateness for new infill construction with the following conditions: that the architect shall submit the proposed final window design and including at least one simulated division to read as multiple lights to the urban conservator for approval prior to issuing the building permits, and that the building permits must be issued within 2 years of the decision date or the COA shall expire.
Thank you, Mr. Owen. All right. We have the applicant Sanya Grathad. Will you be speaking on behalf of the project?
Yes, I will.
All right, let's get you sworn in.
We have anyone that intends on providing any comment or testimony for this item to just take themselves off mute, raise their right hand, and answer out loud.
I'm sorry, what's that?
I'm asking anyone who intends on providing testimony. I was going to collectively swear everyone in. But if it's
Okay.
just too often, we'll just do that. So if you could raise your right hand. You solemnly swear the testimony you shall give will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth.
I
It's a
lost
little-
you.
Yeah, a little hard to hear.
All right. Do you solemnly swear the testimony you shall give will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
Yes, I do.
All right, go ahead. Tell us anything you'd like that about the project, anything that Mr. Owen has not told us?
No, primarily, good afternoon, everyone. I just wanted to mention that, yeah, it's been a pleasure to work with the new urban conservator, Doug. So thank you for providing that excellent summary of the thought process that has gone into how we have done our best effort of complying with the over the Rhine historic guideline. We wanted to understand if we just make a case for using the single pane windows itself as a subtle way of complying through the vertical emphasis and the proportions of the windows without having to add the horizontal mullion. So I think that's the only comment we wanted to make so that we can continue all of the other items we are in agreement with, and it seems like the staff has made the recommendation for approval. So what would that process be going forward is what we wanted to know.
I'm not sure I can answer what the process would be. I guess that while you're speaking, are these operable windows or fixed light windows?
They are operable windows, they are casement windows. And as we are trying to improve not just the infill and how we fit into the over the Rhine historic district, we are also trying to make these buildings more sustainable. So we are trying to look at high performance windows, which have lesser light, probably better shading coefficients also. So that's the thought process that has gone into it.
Thank you. Anything else you'd like to tell us?
I think that should be it. Thank you.
All right, I have Aline Zell and Alex Regina as owners signed up. Would you like to add anything?
They're indicating that they would not.
Okay. Carl Sterner, the architect, anything you'd like to add?
Nope, not at this time.
All right. That's everybody we have signed up. Questions or comments from the board?
Yes, Mr. Chairman. Mr. Owen, is there in the works of revisions to the historic code, that area, that we might not be aware of?
I believe the revisions to the Rhine conservation guidelines are working their way back through the process again.
I guess, and the reason I ask is, I guess where I go, and number one, I think it's a very well conceived design, well thought out design. I do like it a lot. I think the building's very eloquent. Having said that, the code's pretty clear about the base, middle, and cap of the buildings. And I think, in my opinion, this one's stretching it a bit far. I'd be inclined to decline this for that being the only reason. I'd like to see it. And they come right out and say a well-defined, where to go? New construction must employ a strong element that terminates the uppermost part of the building. And honestly, at a couple of these in the past, I think these elements have become more and more vague in our approvals. I'm as guilty of that as I think anybody. And I kind of want you to know, Doug, I'm going to kind of go on record here. I'm going to be less forgiving for not being more compliant, in my opinion, on those. So other than that, like I said, it's a great building. I just don't think it complies.
Other questions or comments from the board?
That's what I was thinking when that's exactly what you just said. I don't think it complies either.
I guess the other, or my comment after looking at this, and I certainly see what you're talking about, Mr. Zlasko, and I certainly think we could send this back for some improvement. I personally don't mind the casement windows on a new construction, and if we're going to approve casement windows, I think the addition of a artificial break in there gives very little additional to the look of the windows, and so I'm sort of disinclined. If casement windows are going to be accepted, and I agree, I kind of like the look of this as a new construction, but if we're going to do that, then I'm not sure simulated division of a casement window really buys us much in the way of look, and just adds to expense. What are other people's thoughts on this? Don't everybody speak at once.
I'd like to, would the owner be open to a tabling of this and maybe try to address the base middle capital, and the divided window issue? Because like I said, otherwise I actually like it. I think I'd be negligent in my role to approve it in its state.
Well, I want to focus on the simulated divided light. Is this something, casement windows are not something we regularly approve, and I would not be happy in most circumstances, but I do sort of like the look of this, of the front of this building. Do we really want to tell them they have to put a simulated mullion in there? Does that move the needle for anyone?
The windows are important to me as well. I think
Okay.
not having them divided is inappropriate.
Okay, it's fine. All right, other questions or comments? All right, then let's come back to the applicant. We have a concern about the absence of a defined base, middle, and top, and a sense of a divided light window. We have a couple choices. We can make a motion to deny. We can make a motion to table and give you an opportunity to correct that. I'm going to throw this back at the applicant, Mr. Rothhard. What would you like us to do?
Yes, Tim, thank you for offering those two options. So I think if we could table it, this is essentially the guidance that we have gotten from Doug also, that knowing that there is an opportunity to table it and we can review it, make the corrections and come back. I think Bob, you had asked, like, does this cause any delay from the owner standpoint? I think both of these items are fairly facade and architectural oriented, or so I think we should be fine to allow the rest of the design to proceed per schedule and still address both of these issues without having to change the design completely, at least the plan of the project completely. So, so we would like to take that option of tabling it.
All right, I will make a motion that we table item number 6, 1526 Elm Street. Do I have a second?
Second,
Second.
All right, Mr. Zelasco,
Aye.
Mr. Weiss,
Aye.
Ms. McDobbins,
Aye.
Ms. McKenzie,
Aye.
Mr. Young,
Aye.
Mr. Sunderman.
aye.
The chair votes aye. We will table item number 6, and you can work with Mr. Owen to get it back to us as quickly as y'all can. All right, Mr. Owen, do we have any other business today?
No, we do not.
Unless anybody else has anything else, any other thing they want to talk about, I will entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Moved.
All in
Second.
favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Thank you, everyone. We're adjourned.
Thanks, Tim.
Take care.